I want to help get you to a point where this becomes absolutely effortless, where what it is that you want to do becomes effortless. So let's imagine right now that you're walking down the street and you see this big, fluffy piece of pizza. And then you say to yourself, I'm hungry. I want the fluffy piece of pizza in my mouth and in my belly. It will feel good. And so what happens is either you can eat the fluffy piece of pizza or not. And I'm not telling you not to, by the way. I'm just using a very, very simple example. Very, very simple example. So what is the calculus if you've never really worked out the reason why you're doing what you're doing? What's the calculus in your mind of whether or not you're going to eat the pizza or not? What do you think?
I like it. I do it.
This tastes good.
Is this healthy?
The healthy food doesn't taste good. All feel satisfied now. Versus some vague context of, whatever type of macronutrients you're trying to consume that basically is you fighting against probably 100 million years of evolution, but somehow you're going to go for the macronutrients, which is probably not going to happen. And you're probably going to fail. So what I want to do right now is I want to show you the mental calculus that happens when you're making some kind of a decision. And I want to show you why you're failing as these decisions are coming at you. So like I've talked about many, many times, most of the conversations that you're having day to day is things like pop culture, sports, which I think can actually be cool, but the point is that it's about sports, it's about people who you're trash talking, and it's about things that are largely wasting your time. You're basically surrounded by things that are predatory on your time and focus, and it's getting you to focus on crap. It's a complete and utter distraction. There's so many layers to this idea of pop culture. Everything from distracting you from being angry about things that bad people are doing and completely distracting you and confusing you about what actually matters, distracting you about the various different statistics about things that you think are important. Like there's all these different issues that come up in the news and whatnot that we think are super important. And then you look up the statistics and our brain can't process statistics, although it can process little examples of sad things that are happening, and we're unable to actually focus on the real threat. By the way, what are the two main threats to your life? Heart disease and cancer, right? But is the news every day, look at the more people that died from heart disease and cancer, right? That's not going to happen that often, okay? And it's coming from a completely fatalistic standpoint that you can't even proactively have any influence on that, but that a doctor will come help you after you've messed everything up. Just the paradigms in this are completely insane, okay? It's just totally insane. Total insanity. So much opportunity cost wasted, so much productivity wasted, so much joy and love wasted just by the way that we eat, by the mainstream media that we watch, by the pop culture, so much less happiness, so much less fun, but we can't help it. Why can't we help it? Because we're trained to look at this stuff. Everybody else is looking at it, so we think that we're supposed to look at it. Everybody else is looking at it, so we think that we're supposed to look at it. Now, is a little bit of this fine? Yes. This is not meant to be the shaming seminar, okay? It's not like shame, like maybe an exercise later as we do the shame walk, tell me how you watch the mainstream news. Everyone just, who is the queen in Game of Thrones that had to walk in, like Cersei, right, in the shame walk, shame, 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 shame. Okay, I'm not doing that. I'm a chill guy. I'm just locking in like a laser here. Look, I make mistakes. I goof up. I look at some of this stuff. I waste my time on some of this stuff. It's not that I don't do that. It's not that you can't do that. It's that at least you understand what it's doing, and then you can move in a better direction. That's all it is, okay? It's progress, not perfection. Say it after me. Progress, not perfection. So coming from that standpoint, just understanding that the calculus that's in your mind is, it will feel good if I watch this. I will be more bored if I don't. It will feel good if I put this in my mouth, whatever that may be, and it will not feel as good if I don't, right? The calculus that's in front of you is just so clearly, not in your favor, right? Like, for example, with say safe sex, if I was to actually give you a class on sexually transmitted disease, if you're to look at things like the price of having an unexpected pregnancy, people who didn't keep their pregnancy and how that impacted them, and we spent a long time looking at that, it wouldn't be as hard to use protection. But when you're sitting there and you're fooling around with somebody and you're this kind of haze and you're basically high on the other person, and it would just be warmer and wetter and feel better, and you've never actually had that shoved in your face, then it's harder to resist. Frankly, it'd be hard enough to resist that even if you've seen all the gruesome pictures of all the infections that you could get. Even if you had the person who had HIV come up and talk about how bad their life is, right? Even then, right? Even then, it's hard to get your mind to actually do anything. It's totally, totally insane how helpless we are. Just totally, utterly helpless and useless. So from that standpoint, what do we have to start doing to get to the point where we understand what it is that we want to do? Well, we've got to actually spend time together drilling down on what life could look like if we do well and what kind of upward spirals that kicks us into. And then we've also got to start looking at how bad life could get and how much pain it can cause if we don't do things properly. And if we actually spend a little bit of time doing that, it's actually kind of shocking. So I'm going to nail you on this at the level of what you'd call your higher self motivations or soul motivations, your day-to-day self motivations, or just physical body motivations, and lower self motivations like your egoic motivations. Okay, and I want to get you thinking of each of these. And the reason why is because each of these are going to be at the wheel. So sometimes you're going to be in your higher self. Like sometimes you'll think about your ex, right? And you'll be like, you know what? God, I love my ex. What a great time we had. What a great person. What a blessing. And you'll think that. Other times you're going to think, they made me miserable. They left me. They scrapped me. They discarded me. And other times you're going to think, I want to show them that it was the worst mistake they ever made, right? I'm going to date someone hotter, and I'm going to have more fun without them, and they're going to see it on social media, right? So, and all of those are real. You see what I'm saying? All of those are real. Like you can tell when you're in a good space with a breakup when you can get to the point that you can look back on the other person with love at the good things that you had and not just want to show them up on social media and not blame them for things, but just remember the good times, right? That's when you're coming from spirit. That's when you're coming from higher self. That's when you're coming from soul. But you're not always going to live there. Like, let's be real. How many of you here are thinking that right now about your ex? How many of you here would love for them to see you as somebody way hotter than them on social media? Right? And I won, right? And how many of you are just pissed, right? So you're not always going to be, in that higher self, right? Notice that even as I say this, it's activating different parts of your brain, right? I could do a seminar right now on like how nice like vegetables are and grass-fed steak and just a nice green salad that's light and, you're not tired after and it gives you mental energy and you had grass-fed steak and you're not as likely to have cancer cells in your body and have this long, long life, and I could get you thinking about that, right? So it starts to taste good, a little grass-fed steak, some nice vegetables, clean, energy. But that might get you thinking back about that fluffy, deep dish Chicago pizza and how it would taste right in your mouth and how satisfying it would be. And a chocolate milkshake, and sweet and sticky, and it's good. And a big giant buffet, a tasting menu with all this sushi and all this stuff, filled with rice and everything, and all this different stuff they put in it. A grass-fed steak doesn't sound too good anymore, does it? But maybe you could have like the egoic meal. Maybe we could go to Dubai right now, and you could have a meal that's covered in little liquid gold. They actually have that, by the way. Like actual gold. Like they can put gold onto things, right? You know that guy, the Salt Bay? Is that his name, the Salt Bay? Right? If you eat at his restaurant in LA, I think there's ones in like Dubai and stuff. I've eaten the one in LA. Like they'll put gold on it, right? Like that fancy $700 dinner, the $700 steak covered in flakes of gold. You want that grass-fed thing anymore? You see what I'm saying, right? You could say the same thing about safe sex or not safe sex. You know what I mean, right? Like talk about, how you're protected or more likely to be protected, avoiding all these different calamities, your peace of mind and so on and so forth, right? Have the sense of self-esteem that you're not messing up. And then we could shift that and we could switch into the warm, wet, inviting, velvety, perfect, life-changing, right? We could, I see you guys licking your lips at me right now. So, okay. So it's like, right? So notice that there's just, then we can switch it back, then we start talking about like STDs and then, then you can start talking about the fear. Then we go back into the raw, right? And so do you see what's happening here? Your mind is not unified, right? There's different parts of the brain that want different things that are being activated by different types of stimulus. And this is happening all day. So this is all just going on depending on different stimulus. So let's do an exercise where what we do is we look at 3 different simple parts of it. We're going to look at the higher self. You might call that the soul, the spirit. We're going to look at the day-to-day self, the practical self. You might call that the physical body. And then we'll look at the lower self. We might call that your ego. And let's think about each one. And then let's think a little bit about the upward spiral in each thing that you would do, okay? So let's just look at a couple different examples. So let's take a certain habit. What would be an example of a bad habit that you wish that you'd stop doing? Just simple example. Smoking cigarettes. Okay, so let's look at smoking cigarettes. So that's a brutal. I'm going to pick that because it could save your life. So we could actually save your life today. You want to save your life today? Okay, let's try to save your life today. I don't know if I can, but I'll try, okay?
Smoking weed, not cigarettes. But.
Well, there you go. Okay, and I'm curious what impact weed even has in the lungs. They haven't, I don't know, has that been covered? Is it really that it doesn't do anything?
Burning plant matter.
What's that?
It's burning plant matter. It's not tar. Cigarettes are way worse.
Cigarettes are worse?
It's not even, you can't compare.
Okay, I can see that.
Burning plant matter is still bad for you.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see it being bad on the lungs, you know?
Brain in some way, though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back on the weed. Okay. So the weed. Let's go on there. So okay. So basically, what you have is that Stephen A. Smith, right? So what you have is that. So what are some higher self reasons that you might, just you personally, doesn't mean all of you in here have to, but for you personally, for where you're at, and you mentioned this is important. Where are some higher self reasons that you might want to quit smoking weed? Come and stand beside me. Just come and share with the crowd. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, man. What would you say are some higher, and you are too for doing this, what are some higher level reasons that you'd want to quit smoking that weed?
Obviously, health issues, potentially, asthma.
And by the way, many opinions on this. I wonder, because there's inevitably someone in here, some watching almost like, I don't agree with this. Okay, they have their own opinion on it. Okay, so I'm not here to cast a firm medical opinion on weed. I'm just saying that he wants to quit weed. So he's going to tell himself what he needs to tell himself to quit weed because he is ready to quit smoking weed. So let's go to the higher self reasons.
And then legal issues. I travel a lot, all over the country. And
well, there's a women's basketball player that's in jail in Russia for weed right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's her name again?
Brittany Griner.
Yep, not easy. That's rough. Okay. She's probably watching this like, damn it. So, yeah, really not funny, but, you know, we'll make it fun. Okay, so... so let's, so what are some from a soulful, higher self reason of what you want to contribute to the world, why would you want to quit smoking weed?
It's a distraction too. It's fun, you know, but in the same way, like drinking, it takes away from my time. I can do other things that are better.
Okay. What do you want to offer to the world that might be slowed down with the weed?
I want to give my full ambition if I'm pacified. And so I can offer more, like, you know, I'm a tech guy, so I can offer more apps and stuff like that.
Okay, how about, do you ever want to have kids?
Maybe, yeah, if I find the correct person.
Okay, maybe with your dating app, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So from there, how could you help add to their lives? Do you have any nieces? Do you have any nephews? Is there anybody who you look at them and you want to add value to them and you feel like it's being held back by being high?
I don't think it's being held back. I just think me personally is getting held back. I could do more without it.
Okay, but let's think of others.
Yeah.
I know it's hard right now. I want to activate a part of your mind beyond yourself. So how might it help other people? What could you add to other people if you weren't smoking that weed?
I think I could offer more value, make them happier in certain circumstances, do more for them, do more charity, stuff like that.
So this is, by the way, see how he's not completely clear on this, right? So if he got some clarity on this, and we don't need to get it this second, okay, because we can do that in our groups anyway, but just the idea that if you could get more clarity on this from a higher self perspective on the value that you could add, okay? Now, how about day to day? So that's kind of like the higher self. And we'll kind of leave it there, but we could go way deeper, but we'll leave it there for now. How about day-to-day self? What could you add what could you add to yourself? How could you make your own life better?
I don't think day-to-day it would change that much for me. But
I think it would, but keep going.
Yeah, maybe 10% more productivity, 20% more productivity. And also maybe, I don't know, less impulsive, choosing to dye my hair for no reason, stuff like that.
See, that part I'd like.
But,
Okay, so you think you'd be 10 to 20% more effective if you quit weed?
maybe more.
Okay,
Maybe more.
okay. And then how about year on year?
It would exponentially be greater than that, yeah.
Yep, okay. And then, what's that?
The money he would save.
Would you save a little cash?
It wouldn't be that much.
Okay.
It's cheap.
Okay. What's that? It's cheap? Okay. All right. Well, it all counts. Okay. So what else would you benefit by quitting weed?
As I said, it would give me moments to do other things and pursue other interests.
So it's interesting because you can tell his passion to quit weed, actually. He came up here, he volunteered to come up, but you can see his reasons aren't that strong. Like, what would you rate his level, and it's just to help him, by the way, it's to add to him. What would you rate his reasoning in higher self and day-to-day self as far as strength to resist the sweet siren song of the ganja? Right? Between getting lit, right, and these reasons. Even I want to smoke weed now. I'm literally about to go smoke weed after this.
It's hard.
I'd only be 10% slower. Okay. So it's about a 3 out of 10, right? He doesn't need to nail it now. At least, we can do different examples. What would you say are some like egoic reasons? Like, is there anybody who you just like to like show them a lesson by being a little bit sharper and just like, maybe just get to kind of floss and stunt how cool you'd look off the weed or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Any ego-driven part of your mind that would be happy if you quit weed?
No, and if anything, it would probably be the opposite because I'd be like, I'm missing out on.
He's not cool anymore.
I'm missing out on the good ideas here.
Okay, and creative. Okay, so, would it be possible to learn to be creative without weed?
Oh yeah, this is not as fun.
Is it actually?
I hope I could learn to be creative without weed. But okay, what was your question, Spenny?
Is it actually fun? You mentioned that earlier, but I'm like, tell me how fun it is. I almost
Yeah.
want to reverse engineer it. Tell me the upside. Like,
Yeah, okay, let's talk
You
upside.
need a certain level of brain, giant brain, and then you get the crazy ideas, and then it's
We're all smoking weeds.
after this, tonight after this.
But as someone who's quit weed, by the time that you have those big brain ideas,
Yeah.
they're so unfocused, unstructured. When you get off of it, you have those huge thoughts, but they have so many more tendrils of why they actually happen.
I like that word, tendrils.
Tendrils.
Yeah. Okay, I think, there's definitely, you can see from Spenny, from yourself, what's your name?
Michael.
Michael, you can see that Spenny, I'm guessing you quit weed?
nah, dude, I like smoking weed, but I don't actually believe it's that fun. and,
She's not that
You
fun.
know what? I got that abstract brain. I got it, but the thing is, these ideas come. I reach for my phone. I gotta write it down. As soon as I whip out my notes, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh
what
my
weed,
God.
that my ideas are gone, and it's sad.
My view of weed is that I think it's probably like, God's way of giving us some kind of painkiller for if you had a human being, prehistory and, they're hurt or injured or, it's like maybe end of life care. It's a coping kind of thing, right? Or it could be maybe a celebration, like, like two tribes at war and like a peace pipe and you all get blasted together or, something like that where it would like serve a function. And then I think what winds up happening is then you kind of just keep going back to that all the time, over and over and over. Something that would be meant more as like a pain management or as like some kind of a celebration or like a psychedelic moment or something like that. But then it just winds up being used as like the equivalent of mental Cheetos. And I just think it goes too far. I've never smoked weed in my entire life, but I grew up around it. So that was just my impression of it, was that I know that it's a beautiful plant, but I just think that the way it's being used, and then I just think that by not smoking at all, it's just simpler. It means that you don't have to kind of resist, and it just makes it easier. I'm the kind of person where when I get into something, I become a connoisseur. That's why I'm glad I don't drink wine. I'd be the person in Napa Valley with my spouse drinking every wine. This is the old wine. This is the new wine. This is the red wine. This is the white wine. This is from this one. This is from that one. Right? And I'd just be pounding it, blasted off my face with every type of wine. Okay, I'm even like that with tea. Like, I know Gyokuru tea, white silver needle tea, Darjeeling black tea, different flavors of tea, different ways of brewing the tea, different ways of making my own kombucha. I make my own kombucha. So, somebody with that kind of personality type, if I get into weed, the indica strain, the sativa strain, this gives you this kind of high, that gives you that kind of, that's the way that my brain works, right? I want to go to every nightclub, every city, everything. So, for me, I could recognize that in myself. I know I have an addictive personality type. If I really like someone who I'm dating, I might not leave the bedroom for a month. So, and that's real. So it's the kind of thing where, like on average, if I have like a new person I'm dating, like, it's 4 or 5 times a day for a while, and those times are not short, and I'm just in there. I'm in the honey trap. You know, I'm in the honey, right? So that's just how I get. So it's one of these things where, you know, and those moments are fun, but like, you know, I've had it where like I'm seeing somebody and we barely leave the bedroom for like half a year. I'd never trade those first 6 weeks. Those first 6 weeks, life changed. That's what life's all about. But after 6 weeks, I don't remember is it 6 weeks? Is it 6 months? Is it 6 years? There's no distinct memory. That's a big motivator for me is distinct memories. Like, you know, say that I dated for someone for 7 months and barely left the bedroom. That's not it. All that I remember is like just me you know, right? Like I can't remember the first time, the second time, the third time. It's just, you're just punching this dopamine button like this fly in a honey trap, like trapped in the honey, but having like this perfect food. You're just like this, like, you know, like remembering what it's like to fly around, but you're just like so happy. You're like, you know, right? And like 7 months later, you're just like, you know, your staff's calling you, your business is falling apart. You're like I thought this is what I always wanted. I always dreamed of this back when I was forever alone. You know, right? And it's like, and so you get in this situation where there's less distinct memories, and you're in sort of a haze, and it's kind of medicating maybe different traumas that you have, or you know, you're hoping that it kind of solves your problems in life, and it's not. So that's, you know, I could see weed for me being something that fulfilled that role, and knowing myself and knowing the way that I get, I just avoided the whole thing. Donald Trump would talk about his brother Fred Trump, who actually died of alcoholism, and apparently Trump actually never tried alcohol or drugs in his life, and he says, you know, my brother Fred, he died from alcoholism, just like what I described earlier with my other buddy, right? Well, his brother passed away from it. He's like, my brother Fred, he was a good guy. He had a lot going for him. I really look up to him. And he told me, just never do this. Just never do this. And this is what I'd share to my children. I tell them, I'm like, look, I know it's not the end of the world if you want to drink or get high, but I'm telling you, it's like if you could just avoid the whole thing, it's sort of like a guarantee there's not going to be a problem. It's not that I think that you can't use these things responsibly. Many people do. You know, look how smart Joe Rogan is. He smokes weed all the time. He seems to be doing amazing. He's thriving. He's rich. He's awesome. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but I just found it a little bit simpler to just avoid the whole thing. And it's not as though I think my life would be any better if I'd been blazed off my face, like, you know, a couple times a month for the past 20 years, right? Like, I've built the life that I want. I don't know. Maybe it would have been more fun. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, I built a great life. So I'm kind of just rolling with this, you know? When I'm old, okay, when I'm like 98 and I can't move, we're going to bust out the weed and meth and heroin, and, you know, if I can make it work, we're not even using the condom. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, just what, you know what I mean, right? It is, you know, and I'll just take the last of my money and I'll get out the money gun and I'll shoot it everywhere on heroin, you know? Might as well, right? But the truth is I'm so much in the habit of not doing that, I probably never will do that either, you know? Because I have my philosophical viewpoint. Anyway, let's get back on the weed. So clearly, there's no way in hell as you're sitting back down and quitting weed, right? That's just like clear as day. This intervention didn't work at all. There's no chance this guy's quitting weed as of the second.
I might
okay.
taper down.
Yeah, I'm giving him an ego reason right now. Like, I'll show you. But, you know, there's about a 5% chance he's leaving here quitting the weed, okay? It's about a 5% chance, okay? He has very little like desire like for children at this point. He's not really thinking too much about how the acid helped another person. He's only about 10% slower to make his app if he smokes it. There's not really an ego reason to quit, and he wants to get high. So it's just this thing where, you know, but he's up here, and that's where it's so weird, because you came up, you're up here. So I don't understand. I don't understand. I got to redo my whole program, the whole endless motivation program.
Maybe I should just sit down.
Yeah. You promised me endless motivation. I smoke more weed than ever. Okay, so and I feel great. So we got to get it to the point. Like, it's one of those things where I don't want to just bring, you know, only one person, and you've been generous with your time and helpful, but I don't want to only bring, you know, and I'm sure you feel the same way, only one person and stay here. Like, so we could stay up here for a couple hours and really dig deep. We might find stuff in childhood. We might find different traumas that are going on. We might find that he does have higher visions to add to the world that he's disconnected from and that he hasn't owned fully yet, and that actually bothers him, and that he actually cries himself to sleep about it, but then won't admit it to himself, and that he smokes weed to cover it up, and that he actually does have an ego, and that his ego ego wants more for himself, and his ego does want to actually show itself up and strut a little bit, and then he doesn't want to feel like a clown, and then he doesn't want to be up here being the person at the motivation seminar that couldn't even quit weed, and then all that sucks, and then he really wants to change, okay? And we probably wouldn't uncover things like that because that's usually the case in most cases, or we might not, I don't know. Or maybe we're planting a seed right now that will bear fruit at a later date. But what I'm saying is this general format is how you want to think about it. And then what we would do is we would look at the negatives and we would do those. But could you guys give me a hand for being a great example up here, for being entertaining? Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Yeah. Okay. So somebody here who actually has a bad habit that they're trying to get over.
Volunteers tribute.
Okay, let's get you up here. That was a great voice. Okay. What's up, man? Okay. Good to see you, bro.
I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you, man.
Honestly.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I appreciate what you do.
Thank you, bro. You know, by the way, you have the most incredible energy, and if you just dialed it back 5%, your results would go up 500%. But okay, so
I got kicked out of a club one time.
I know you did. At minimum, yes. So basically, but you have incredible energy, and that's something that's going to take you far. Now, what would you say is something that you want to quit?
It's the stupidest thing, but I bite my nails. I don't want to stop.
Okay, that's a curveball. Okay, so what are the? We'll see how it fits in this format. Okay, I can't tell if you're messing with me. So, but we'll just take it. So, what are some higher? What would you add? Again, it's a bit of a curveball. I've never heard this in years of teaching. So, what more could you add to the world if you quit biting your nails?
No.
Well, I could say something. I mean, if you're serious, I can't tell if you're joking or not, but if you're serious about it.
I've been trying to stop since I was 14.
Okay, so you've been trying to stop. So how does the nails thing impact your self-esteem if you can't get yourself to stop biting them?
I'm a fucking adult, man. I can't be biting my nails like a child.
Okay. What would you say, we'll just drill down a little bit further. What would you say, like say that you're giving somebody leadership and direction, but you can't stop compulsively biting your nails.
No authority.
Yeah, does that take away from your sense of moral authority?
It does.
Okay. What are some other like expansive reasons that you want to quit biting your nails? Or that you could add if you were to do it?
I'd feel more confident about reaching my goals.
Okay, for real?
You know no, yeah, because like,
Okay.
this is simple. Anyone
Let's see the
can
nail.
stop. Look at this. It's a nub.
No, actually, this is real. Okay, yeah.
No,
This is real. Okay.
It's a nub.
Get the zoom in here. Okay. Get the zoom in. Okay, so I thought he was just teasing me a little bit here.
like
Okay, I like jokes sometimes. I thought he was messing with me.
But like-
Okay, so keep going.
This is a simple thing. I feel like anyone in this room could stop. You know what I mean? And I have lofty fucking. I want to do big shit.
Okay.
And how can
So
I
it's
do big shit
it's this kind of thing where what you're experiencing is that you're like, I have this base level habit that's compulsive. So what does it say about me if I can't fix? And by the way, look, the truth is that you could do things, even biting your nails. Like you really could do what you want in life without biting your nails. But I can still see how it messes with you. What are some practical reasons why you'd like to quit biting your nails?
At work, I have to do like a lot of writing with my hands, and sometimes I say once every 100, I get nervous. You know, freaked out that someone's like looking at my nails instead of focusing when I'm writing down.
So that I'd put as like an ego reason. I'd put that in lower self category. You know, it's like they're looking at me. They know my dirty little secret. Okay, so what would you say is a practical day-to-day reason why you'd like to quit biting your nails? Do you swallow it?
No, it's nasty.
Okay.
No. Just like practical, I'd say it's hard to open pop cans. Like legit, like a pop can without nails. Yeah. I have to get like a second pop.
That's
can.
actually a great point. I thought, again, I this entire discussion, I keep thinking you're teasing me.
No.
And then I think about it, and I totally agree with
Or
you now.
even worse.
Yeah, like, 'cause think about it. You're just sitting there, you're like, and it's like hurting the, yeah. Okay.
Or I have to get my girlfriend to open up the pop can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Honey.
She has nails and I don't, so it's like, baby, can you?
Yeah. I mean, it could be an upside, could be a down, but yeah, I see your point. It'd be nice to just ask that because you want to, not because you have to. Okay, so from that standpoint, what do you think are some things that would be like an upward spiral that you'd feel an overall upward spiral, like a secondary benefit if you quit this?
Ooh. Secondary benefit?
Yeah, like what could this, I mean, it's a small thing, but I guess we'll just go down this road anyway. So what would you say is something that like, if you had the added sense of self-esteem that you're not doing this. If you didn't have to do dumb, demeaning things like get your girlfriend to open a pop can. If you didn't have people staring at your fingers while you're writing something down with a pen. What are some added values that you could get from this? What are some things that could, that you could find would be like, if you had that, this other thing would happen that you'd like. So by the way, this is the next step in the sequence. So what the sequence is this: higher self, day-to-day self, lower self, but then we look at upward spirals. You see this? And then we look at those outcomes. And then if you want to go deeper, you say higher self, day-to-day self, lower self of those benefits. And then you do those upward spirals. And you'd be surprised. It's sort of like a butterfly effect. And then to wrap the sequence, you actually show the opposite side, which is the pain, how it hurts your higher self, hurts your day-to-day self, hurts your lower self, but then the negative downward spirals that are also happening in that process. So you can imagine that now all of a sudden, you go to bite your nails, but you mentally have this web in your mind of all the positive outcomes, all the negative outcomes, the upward spirals, the downward spirals. We've kind of jammed this down your face like a pie just jammed. You're like, Daddy, stop the pie, Daddy. I'm like, I'm not done. You got to stop those nails, eat the pie. I'm just smearing it. You're like, yes. And so you've had that shock moment and it's top of mind. And then if you do that with this, you'll find it gets easier. The compulsion may be there. Now, by the way, there's other layers to this. Trauma healing and all sorts of other stuff. It's like we're hitting it now at the intellect. We can hit it at the level of trauma. We can hit it at the level of autopilot. We can hit it at the level of just like gradually unwiring a habit. There's so many levels that we can hit this at. But we're going to focus on this one for the time being, which is personally actually my favorite. That along with trauma healing, I'd say are my two favorite. So what would you say are some upward spirals to your higher self if you quit biting your nails?
That's like a tough question.
Well, the nails thing is it's kind of a small thing, but I can also see it in some ways being a big thing. Like I originally thought you're kidding. Yeah, but it's probably starting to. Worse.
Yeah, the confidence thing. Honestly.
Mm-hmm. And how might lower confidence impact your dating life, impact your relationship life, impact getting a promotion at work, impact you going after maybe building a business? How would it impact that?
I remember I have a girlfriend now, and we're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah.
For now, they're happy till they're not.
Third cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I was reaching to grab this girl's hand. Let's go here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's go. And I hesitated, and I couldn't do it because she looked at my hand.
Yeah. Got it.
I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I trade your stubby nails for my bald head, by the way. So don't let it hold you back.
I trade you
but
right now. I do it.
Okay, let's do it. but you know my point, right? So we do all have to get over those insecurities. But nonetheless, it's easier to go through those motions when you're not fighting against something. So we have to take action in spite of any insecurity, but it's nice if we can also just fix it if it's something controllable. So that'd be a confidence issue. How about day to day? How would that impact your life just day to day? What are some upward spirals day to day of how things would just be better? Just simple, basics, practical stuff, brass tacks.
Well, I can open pop cans now. That'd be nice.
And what would be an upward spiral from there?
An upward spiral from being...
Yeah, now that you can open a pop can...
Well, shit, I can pick coins off the ground. That'd be nice. No, I legit can't pick up coins off the ground. I can pick up coins off the ground. I can...
this is like a real... the more he talks about this, the more... Yeah. So you can pick up coins. You can open pop cans. Yeah.
I can scratch my girlfriend's back.
Okay. Yeah. And how...
Nubs, rub it.
Yeah.
It's useless.
I didn't even feel aroused from that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then great. And how about the lower self component? What are some upward spirals to your ego? Rather than trying to fight the ego's bad, like you're in your ego sometimes. Sorry to say, that's called being human. So what are some upsides to your ego if you could get rid of this issue?
I'd feel like a better person.
Okay, great. You'd feel more confidence, right? So a lot of this stuff is surrounding confidence. It's surrounding practical things. It's surrounding not feeling inadequate and then the things that go from there. So now imagine if you sat there, and we'll do this during the break, but imagine you sit there and you kind of nail this out for everything, and then you also look at the downsides, and then you nail it out for everything, and you try to make it really, really emotionally relevant. Some things that people like Tony Robbins will do, and I believe he got this from neuro-linguistic programming, is he'll do this thing called the Dickens pattern, where he gets you to act, and he'll do this in rooms of like 18, 30,000 people or things like that. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I'm talking like rooms so big that your brain can't even process how big these rooms are. And he'll basically get you to, he'll turn the lights off and he'll say, if you keep doing that, think of the people you affected. Think of the people you let down. Think of who you let down yourself in the next week, how horrible your life will be the next week. And then everyone's like, wah! And you literally hear 20,000 people screaming like you're in actual hell. Like it's this visceral experience of actual hell. Maybe we'll try it in our group later, maybe earlier the day tomorrow. And then you'll say, now the loss, the pain, the letdown, the disappointment, the sadness in a year. Think of who you let down. You let down yourself in a year. Now scream. And the whole room goes crazy. And then he'll do it for like in 5 years, 20 years, 30 years. And the whole room is screaming and crying. And that's what he calls neuro-associative conditioning, where he's getting you to associate in your nervous system what that pain is causing. Now, maybe we'll even, swagger jack that exercise at some point and get you to think about it. Maybe we could even do that at the end of the day tomorrow or something when my voice is just ready to cook my voice. I do that sometimes at the end of seminars, like a death meditation, and I go all crazy and then I can't talk for like 3 days. But point being is like, just imagine for now, just imagine what that would be like to associate that level of pain, but also the level of pleasure, okay? So that's what they call neuro-associative conditioning. So what you're doing here, though, is we're at least doing that baseline where we've started the seminar today with the outcomes that you want, right? We've looked clearly at the outcomes you want. We've prioritized them. We've clearly defined them. And now what we're doing is we're looking at the emotional impact of it, okay? So give me a hand, guys. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun, man. Love your energy, bro. A lot of fun. Okay, we'll maybe do one last one here. One last one. Any girls want to come up? Any girls here that want to come up? I'd love to have a girl up here.
Yeah, got one.
Okay, let's hop up. Give her hands. So what's something you'd like to quit?
Caffeine.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, so I love caffeine. I'm not on caffeine right now. I love caffeine. I feel and all that it takes for me is one green tea. One green tea.
Wait, do you?
And I get crazy. Okay, just one. Okay, this is me, no green tea. You give me a green tea.
Wow.
Okay? Oh, it's great. I like smelling it in the can. I like brewing it up. I like anticipating the feelings that I'm going to get when I drink the green tea. I like to mix it with a little bit of dark chocolate and wild blueberries, and I sit there in the morning knowing that I'm going to smash through my day, knowing that I'm going to get on that one-on-one coaching call with some arrogant billionaire, and I'm going to put him in his place and help him, fueled by the power of caffeine and L-theanine and that Gyokoru green tea, calling friends of mine and inspiring them and screaming at them over the phone like a freaking crazy person, calling whatever girl that I'm dating and screaming and going crazy to pump her up too, running around in circles with my children, running out to seminar, and going nuts, okay? And every word out of my mouth on point. God, I love green tea, okay? I love green tea, okay? White silver needle tea, it's a little more delicate. And what I find with tea is that the first day I drink it, I think I'm just going to drink this every day till I don't care if I live 10 less years. I'm drinking this. Anybody who doesn't like it can F off. And then I drink it the next day, and it's about 80% as good as the first day. Then I drink it the next day, and it's about 60% as good as the first day, which is still very good. And then the next day, it's about 40% as good. The next day, it's about 20% as good, which is still quite nice. Then the day after that, I find that I wake up feeling kind of tired, and I can't even concentrate at all until I have some tea. Then the next day, I wake up very, very tired, and then I really can't concentrate till I have some tea. About 2 weeks after that, I've got piles upon piles of work. I can't afford to go off the frickin' caffeine in the tea. And so now I just have to drink the frickin' tea to be normal. And then eventually what I notice, and this is very subtle and nuanced, but you might relate, is that there's sort of like, some people in Eastern herbs call this like a jing energy. It's like a resonance in the voice. It's a crispness in your thinking. It's a beauty in the moment where you can feel your energy is really, really good. Maybe you have a little bit of bad knees or a bad ankle, but you wake up and you get out of bed and they don't hurt. But I start to wake up and it's like, it's like all the little, kind of little cracks in my joints kind of crack a little bit more. And, and I might even wake up with like a slight headache. And I don't even really want to face the day. And now I'm drinking the tea and I feel normal, but I kind of feel like my base level energy isn't there. And there's just this like central nervous system poking thing that's just kind of poking adrenaline into my central nervous system. And it just makes me feel a bit jittery, but it doesn't even feel good. Then what I realize that I have to stop drinking tea. And then what I do is I try to get a little bit of work off my plate, and then for 2 or 3 days I have lower energy, and I'll still work and get things done, but it's just really not that good. And then over about the next 2-3 days, and maybe back to normal after 10 or 12 days, I eventually go back to normal, and I pay the credit card bill for the caffeine, all with a great memory of those first few days that I could never quite get back until my energy does come back. And I feel better than I did on caffeine for a while. I literally feel better than I would on caffeine. The most amount of energy I have is when I'm off the second most amount of energy I can have is when I'm off caffeine. Every day, the second most amount of energy I can have. There's only one time that I can have more energy, and that's with those first 2 days of the frickin' green tea. And then I think to myself, if I feel this good right now, imagine how good it would feel with green tea. Now do you see why I don't smoke weed, by the way? This is green tea. Weed? Oh my God. So understanding that and knowing that about myself, I know that, if I am needing to reset my sleep schedule for some reason, I got to keep myself up, I'm down to drink a little tea. If I have some huge smashing seminar for like 4 or 5 days, I'll sometimes drink tea on the last 2 days, things like that. I do it here or there. And it's cool and I enjoy it, and I hear that it has antioxidants and flavonoids. Other people think it has defense chemicals in it. I don't know, but I'm just, I'm not in a position to know that, but I've heard there's good things in it. But the point being is that I enjoy it and I can use it in moderation, but it really does have to be in moderation. That's pretty much what I've seen. I've also seen that if you drink it just the one time or maybe twice, and then you stop for like a couple weeks, you're pretty good. You can actually do that. That's my experience. My buddy, Marcel, he actually never, ever, ever gets any benefit from tea, and so he can drink it whenever he wants. No impact. Anybody here who has totally caffeine insensitive, put your hands up. You just have no caffeine sensitive. Put your hand way up. So it's like a small percentage of people. So you could probably drink coffee before bed. You're like, this tastes great, and you go to bed, right? Right. So some people are just like that. Other people are just so whacked out and so de-energized and depleted from caffeine that they can drink caffeine before bed, but because they're so run down, it still won't put them over the top. Their adrenals are that fried. So anyway, that's my intro on caffeine. Let's talk about you with caffeine, how you'd like to get off it. How do you experience? Give me the 30-second version of how you experience caffeine.
Well, everything you said, I feel like you're describing me. Even the very yeah, the power.
The green tea.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm pretty crazy on pre-workout and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you were going down the line, that's how I feel now. So now it's it doesn't really do it for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just kind of feeling weird and hazy and I can't really feel that much, and it's really weird because I'm usually very in tune with my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's making me feel really
Yeah, crazy, right? It's
Yeah.
really, really crazy. So I would say that just, what are some higher self reasons why, do you want to scrap it completely or maybe drink it how many times a month do you want to have a bit of caffeine? I'm not telling you to quit it. I haven't quit it. I'm just saying, do you want to go 0? Do you want to go twice? Do you want to go 4 times? What do you want to do?
probably once a month if I'm not if I'm working out, if I don't feel going to the gym at all.
Okay, so I'm going to predict once a month is 4 times a month. Am I right or am I wrong?
Right.
Okay, so that's 4 times a month. So I remember when I said don't say that you're going to become a billionaire, pick something real. When you're going to go to quit something, don't pick I'm ready for never again. And it's because then what's going to happen is you're going to fail and you're going to have failing momentum, okay? So let's think instead about something realistic here, okay? So let's think to ourselves 4 times a month. What are some which I believe would not have a major impact, but different opinions on this out there. I'm not an expert. So what would you, and science, the slow march of science wears on, and they either find out that it's way healthier than you thought, or they find out that it's worse than you thought. I know Dave Asprey, for example, is big into coffee. He feels, I think he's saying, maybe he says drink it every day or something, and he's got good reasons for this, by the way, and they're convincing. So everybody's a little different. I'm just saying how I experience it. I think he puts grass-fed butter into the, bulletproof, right? Is that some way to mitigate these effects?
It's either butter or fat. that when you have caffeine in the morning, you also have something for your stomach to be eating.
Okay, does that maybe slow down the rush of it and you still get the benefits of the polyphenols and flavonoids?
Because you also have like the food in your stomach that you're eating.
Okay, so that's a better way of doing it?
In theory.
Anybody here ever try bulletproof coffee? Did it help with some of these negative effects I said?
I think it slows it down because you drink it over like a few hours and it keeps your brain going. And I usually don't eat anything till like 1 in the afternoon. So I drink it.
Okay. Oh yeah, and it helps for fasting and stuff.
It's almost like
Okay.
an intermittent fast, almost, because he says it doesn't raise your blood sugar.
That's amazing. Okay, so that's fantastic. Okay, yeah, so there's fans of that, and then anybody ever heard of Paul Saladino, Carnivore MD 2.0, the guy that runs around surfing and blasting down raw beef and stuff? You ever seen that? He's hilarious, right? His idea that he would share it, and I got to be clear. People sometimes say, Owen Cook says this, and it's like, and I'm watching this, I'm like, I don't say that. It's super frustrating. So I want to acknowledge that. So we're going off a very loose understanding. I'd recommend that you look up these people on your own. A guy like Carnivore MD 2.0 would say that there's like plant defense chemicals in the caffeine, in the plants, and he would say that. He's got his whole ideology about that. I wouldn't be in a position to know. I'm just sort of recognizing some different ideas. So let's just kind of go off of our understanding of it, right or wrong, and what you currently want to do. Later, your understanding can evolve and you recalibrate. And by the way, in all of my content that I've taught over the years and everything that, what I've taught you guys in social skills, I might teach social skills at one paradigm 1 year, realize there's a better way and teach it in a better way the next year, and our understanding evolves. Anything that I will ever share about nutrition in my entire life with the slow march of science could prove to be bunk, prove to be total bunk in 20 years. I can't tell you how many great classic self-help books from the 80s are ruined when they're saying things like don't eat butter, eat margarine. Things like that, right? The science changes, right? So when we're talking about motivation to maybe change food intake, that's usually going off of our current understanding of food intake, which is going to adapt, it's going to evolve, and things are going to change. But that said, we can only go off what we know now, okay? So knowing what we know now and the position that you're in and the way that I described it, what are some higher self reasons why you'd like to go down to caffeine once a week?
I don't know. I'm very in tune with my emotions and other people's emotions, and I feel very cut off from that, and it's very weird, and I don't feel like myself.
Yeah, I can actually see in your facial expressions it bothers you. I can tangibly feel it from you. So what would it allow you to do if you would quit? It would allow you to intuitively relate with other people better, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. I gotcha. What are some day-to-day practical reasons you'd like to quit?
Makes me pee a lot, and it makes me very.
Me too, actually. It is true. You're blasted with caffeine. You're like in there like, I'm pissing like a racehorse today. So yeah, no, I understand. I think it's like a light poison that your body's trying to get rid of or something. Yeah, so okay. What are some other practical reasons?
Well, it's the pee a lot. Like,
I love it just comes down to the peeing.
It's just like sometimes it's almost like I have to drink so much water, and if I don't drink that water, I can't even pee.
Wow.
And
Okay.
You're making me feel very shameful about it. Even just
Good.
talking.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Don't feel shameful. But just that. But you can still let it burn a little bit. Just as a wake-up call.
I feel really like embarrassed.
You should feel embarrassed now. All this peeing.
No, not about just like with everything.
Yeah, being emotionally cut off, and sort of being like tired, and then using it as a crutch. Okay. How about the lower self reasons? How would it help your ego to actually quit, or how will it hurt your ego if you don't?
I don't really know about that one. The ego.
Well, would you say that you'd feel like a cooler person if you didn't have to deal with this?
I mean, I feel like I'd have more energy, and that would probably make me.
Are you somebody who probably doesn't operate from ego that much?
Kind of. I try not to.
Yeah, I don't feel a lot of ego coming off of you, but I do personally believe that everybody has a bit of an ego. So if you can kind of dig in there, like what are some like low-level, superficial reasons that I feel this way? I just realized that there's always a different part of the mind at the wheel, like what we talked about earlier in the segment. So the more that you can kind of get familiar with those parts of the mind, that's a very, very powerful thing. Okay, and then how would you feel overall if you just pulled this off?
I would feel amazing.
Okay, well, give her a hand, guys. Thank you very much. That was really awesome. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I want that for you. Yeah, I really want that for you. So, okay, so basically the way the system works is you get it to where you just basically break it up. Like, okay, you begin with what it is that you want. We covered that earlier, right? We covered that in earlier segments. So you get very, very, very clear in what it is that you want. Now what we're looking at is why you want to do it. And so what happens is, again, we're being bombarded with all this kind of predation on our time and focus and energy and momentum. And then what we want to do is we want to get to the point that we actually are overpowering that. Okay, now there's a lot of elements in trauma and so many other understandings and techniques that I'm going to be going into that are going to show you how to overpower this. 1,000% will show you how to overpower this. Okay, so there's much, much deeper that we can go. So we're kind of just going through this a step at a time. But the step right now is to pick one thing from that list, just one thing. And what I want you to do is pick something off of it and begin to split it up like this so that whatever part of your brain is at the wheel, you have an immediate and emotionally associated and emotionally relevant concept of why it is that you're doing what you're doing, okay? This is what they say with personal growth seminars is they say that it's a chance to do something called Get Altitude. Okay, one of my mentors, Eben Pagan, has a whole program called Get Altitude. The idea of getting altitude at an event like this or at a mentoring or any kind of coursework like this is what you're really doing is you're kind of in your life, right? You're in it and you're living it. And then you take a little bit of time off to pull back and to kind of look down at like the Google Maps version of your life, right? Because normally you're in the map, right? Or you're in the Google Maps version where you see the street corner and you see the the stop sign and the red light and the street and all that. You're just kind of living your life. The idea of coming to an event like this or doing a mentoring with me or things like that is or doing a digital course thing like this or anything like that is the idea is that you are pulling back for a second and you're saying, where is this going? We're going to do a little bit more of that later, by the way. Like, where is it? Like, what is a real audit of my current trajectory? Where is this going? Like, what's the end game of this? And let me tell you something, okay? This is tough, and we'll do a segment on this. Every single thing that I've done wrong in my life has come back to bite me in the butt really bad, okay? I'm one of the most, play it by the book kind of people you'll ever see at age 42. Like I try to have integrity and do what I say I'm going to do and that stuff. And people look at me and they're like, what a great person you are. Wow, you're real swell. And I'm thinking like, I'm just a little more selfish than you. I'm not this great person because of this. I'm a jaded, beaten down, middle-aged, bald man with a blasted ACL, a pot belly, a lot of stress, burnt relationships, probably 5-10 women that I was truly in love with, that I messed those up, messed up things in my business, somehow managed to get myself as this weird counterculture figure that I'm sure the consequences of that haven't borne fruit yet completely. Right? And so it's one of these things where, when I show you all this stuff, like I'm just speaking as a middle-aged man. I can't even believe I'm saying like a middle-aged. How'd that happen? Right? I was the young teacher, the young and up-and-coming prodigy teacher, mystery's little assistant. Right? What are you going to do someday? So much promise, so much ambition, so many amazing things that could happen. And I've done a lot of amazing things, more than almost anybody I know, to be honest with you. So I'm going to give myself some props too. But man, I've eaten some turd sandwiches. Like, I really, really have. Like, let me just give you a couple simple ones and we'll talk about this later. Like, I had in the range of like 10 gum grafts done a couple years ago, right? I would brush my teeth 2-3 times a day, really good home care. But apparently for some people, maybe not everybody, for some people, if you don't go get a professional teeth clean, I'm sure there's some natural way that you wouldn't need this, by the way, that I don't know, like cod liver oil or something, like Activator X or something. I saw this stuff on Google. I don't know. I don't know. But, there's some natural way. But barring that you're doing, coconut pulling or ashwagandha, like something that I don't know, and then if any of you know, you come tell me, please. For regular folks that aren't doing that, you get cavities. And your gums recede. And, it got to the point where I had so much gum recession back here that they had to cut open the top of my mouth and sew in gum tissue. And then I had like 6 or 7 cavities. It was about $10,000 in dentistry. I got this done during the lockdown. A lot of pain. I actually humorously listened to the Book of Revelation on audiobook while they did my gums. was awesome because your mouth is being cut open, you're bleeding everywhere while you listen to the book of the apocalypse. I just thought that was funny. Like this visceral film be like cut open while you listen to Revelation, like, and then the world ends, 666. Do you guys know in the book of Revelation it talks about social distancing and it talks about the thing that you need to buy and sell. Do you guys know about this? Yeah, the mark of the beast. You guys got to look. You won't. I won't even go there. You just got to look this up, okay? 666, like 6 feet in all directions. Mark of the beast. I can't even make this up, guys. I can't even make this up. Okay, go look. Just go look it up. I'll leave it alone. I'll hold my tongue. But anyway, right? So go look it up. But point being, I'm sitting there listening to the apocalyptic audio Bible version of the book of Revelation, read by the great David Suchet, the best Bible reader of all time. And I'm listening to this, and I'm just like bleeding, like, ah, 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 in great pain. I always say, I just wish that when the receptionist, at the last time I went to get my teeth cleaned, they're like, you should book your next appointment. And I'm like, I'll book it when I feel like it. You're not going to trick me into booking an appointment so you can get paid. And like, thinking I'm so smart. Nope. And I am sitting there wishing that the receptionist would have jumped up on the desk with a bat, beaten my face in with the bat, grabbed my wallet, made me pay the deposit for the next teeth cleaning. Would have been less painful and less expensive than spending a month spitting up blood while taking ribeye steaks, grass-fed, and tomato sauce, blending it in a blender and drinking grass-fed tomato steaks, and feeling grateful you can even do that. That you can even do that, because for the first couple days, you can't even do anything like that. You just bleed and scream, okay? That was a lot of gum grafts. If anyone here ever had to do a gum graft, put your hand up. Okay, anybody here? Okay, only one person. So I'm the only idiot that had this happen. I know a bunch of you are going to go get your teeth cleaned after this. But I posted a video about procrastination. I showed the blood coming out and everything, okay? So it's one of these things where, you don't do that, and it blows up in your face. And I've had, business relationships where there was corners cut, and they eventually go sideways. Personal relationships, romantic relationships where, you compromise on certain things and they blow up. And what you're generally going to find in life is if you can kind of just do the right thing, well, first you got to figure out what that is, right? But if you can kind of just do the right thing and you can stick to it, your life can get really, really good. So a lot of the good seeds that I planted bore fruit, and I had this amazing life. But it's funny, like, whatever seed you plant, it's like you get like the 10x or 100x version of what you planted. So all the good things that I've done, have resulted in like, me living in the Hollywood Hills mansion, me dating this string of, beauty pageant contestants and Instagram models and really smart, intelligent women and all the stuff that I've done. It's resulted in me having a public speaking business and having fans and having people walk up to me on the street and give me props and, crying and gratitude and things like that. Resulted in me having a great passion and hobby and making an impact and making a great difference, having beautiful children, right? Like all these things that I've done well have resulted in those things. Me, going to every ski resort this year and traveling the whole country and having great friends and, meeting the different celebrities that I thought were cool and wanted to hang out with, or meeting different entrepreneurial people and became their coach. Like people where I'm coaching them, I'm scared out of my mind. I'm like, this person's gonna pay me to coach them? I'm gonna pee my pants right now because like I'm literally like watching them as a fan and then I get them to hire me. Like imagine that I hired you if you guys like my stuff. I'm like, I really need your help, and you're like, cool, yeah, oh yeah, just give me like all this piles of cash and, right? And I'm like, thank you, and you're like, yeah, I got you, like we're cool, like, right? And like, I'm doing that, or dating people that I would see on social media that I was like, that's like my celebrity crush. And it becomes my girlfriend. Like, I've done that. And, I've had these experiences. I've traveled the country with my children, up in the mountains, in Montana, beautiful waterfalls with my children. Right? My children right now are literally out at the John Hancock Center. Yesterday we were on you can see this on my Instagram, a beautiful boat ride all through the downtown. Took them to Millennium Park. They're playing in the water in front of those two huge statues with the creepy face that spit out the water. I played a trick on Dylan. I said, Dylan, we're going to go see a giant bean. Do you believe me? He's like, I don't believe you. I'm like, no, we're going to see a giant bean, Dylan. He's like, no, I don't believe you. I'm like, no, we're going to go see a giant bean. What are you going to say if I'm right? He's like, I don't believe you. Right? And of course, we're in Chicago. There's this giant bean that they put up, which is like so funny, right? But that's a beautiful moment, right? So I've had a lot of beautiful moments, the birth of my children, all these incredible, beautiful moments. And I've also had painful breakups and painful business issues and people who I let down and people that I love and that I let down. And I live with the pain of that every day of my life. You know, the people that I dated that I feel like I let them down and the pain of that. And even though I'm over them and they're over me, I'll never forget the pain that I caused in that. I'll never forget, you know, all sorts of things, right? Like, for example, I was doing skiing and I skied every hill this year. I haven't been skiing since I'm a kid. And now I'm in Vail doing double black diamonds without a trainer. Right? And it's like, okay, so I have no trainer. I don't need a trainer, right? I'm up here telling all of y'all you need a trainer, right? Look at what you're even learning just in this quick segment. Imagine doing a proper training. And so I'm telling everybody, you know, to get a trainer. And then and I get all these trainers. But I'm just kind of like busy and I just don't feel like hiring a trainer. I just want to get on the slopes. I literally blew my ACL out, guys. It's blown. When you fully sever an ACL, they're going to cut me open. They're going to cut off a piece of tendon, drill it into my bones, sew me up. They're going to put me on oxy. You already know my opinion about weed. They're going to put me on oxy. And if you don't do the oxy, you can be in so much pain and shaking that you can't heal properly, by the way. Maybe that's where I should smoke weed, but I'm more afraid I'm going to get hooked on that, and I'm all confused now. And so, you know, you guys have your different opinions, but point being is, you know, then I'm going to have to literally be in physiotherapy 3 or 5 days a week, just learning how to just do this again, you know, and every time I'm going to be like, right? They're going to have the scar on the top, they're going to have to massage it so it doesn't harden into this like rock wall line thing, and I'll be like, you know, and that'll go on. Then eventually I'll be taking my first test. Now, you know another thing? Like 5-10% of these replacement ACLs pop. Some people actually have to go get it redone. I knew this one guy. He had one of them pop, and then what happened was that he healed it, but then this one was overstressed because he put all the weight on this one for a long time, and then he went and played basketball. First day back playing basketball, this one popped, and back to the drawing board. He had a great attitude, too. He wasn't a victim about it at all. Made me feel less bad about my situation. But that's what happened when I, you know, thought that I could just go skiing down double black diamonds with a pot belly, not training legs, and not checking the bindings and to see if they'll pop, because that was really the issue that happened, was that the bindings were too tight. You know, and so it's one of these things where stuff happens, right? Think about this for a minute. On a long enough timeline, a long enough trajectory, if you don't wear your seatbelt, what's going to happen?
You're going to crash.
Right? You're going to probably fly through the front window. On a long enough timeline of low odds, what's going to happen if you just go around skiing with a pot belly, you know, and legs not trained and too tight of bindings down double black diamonds and Vail your first season back since you're a kid, right? What's going to happen eventually? What happened is natural. That's life. Like, that's a normal thing that happened. Like, that's like, I don't know, you call that the laws of physics. I don't know. There's some like law you'd call that, whatever it would be, right? So these things will happen. So understand that, like, when you smoke weed, right? Like, we can make jokes about that, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the medical issues around that. Maybe you get lung cancer. Maybe you have problems with thinking. Maybe you get in a car accident. Maybe you lose, you know, you have a loss of somebody who's close to you. Maybe other bad things happen, things that we can't foresee. Maybe they're putting chemicals in the weed. You know, there's spider mites on weed a lot of the time. Maybe they're putting on chrysanthemum sprays. Maybe they're using chemical sprays like Avid because they don't want the spider mites eating it, and you're inhaling that all the time. Is this organic weed that you're smoking? I doubt that it is. Are you using a vaporizer or using a joint? Like, how do you smoke your weed?
Vape.
Well, that's pretty, a vape, as in like a vape pen or like a vaporizer?
Like a vaporizer.
Well, that's probably better. But you know my point here, right? So we don't know, like, the end outcomes of our actions. We don't really know, right? Many of you here think, I'm not going to get a mentor, and you know, I'll be fine. Just like me with my ski instructor, thinking I'm not going to get a mentor, and then I pop out my knee, and then I wind up wasting time. A big thing that you'll find also is that years burn by, and if you're not actually learning faster and being aggressive about your learning, what winds up happening is you wind up kind of getting behind, and you know, maybe you get to a point that you don't have a retirement fund. For many of you here in this room, you're not even on a trajectory to even ever be able to retire. My good buddy Sid, who had all this property under management, one of the big things that he does is he manages old people's homes. And he says that it's processed foods, fluorescent lighting, and miserable people. And it's kind of like a hellhole in there. How many of you are even on a trajectory to even have that kind of a backup if something were to happen, right? So these are the kind of things that probably stand in stark contrast to a lot of the content that I've taught over the years, like go out to the club and, you know, and so on and so forth. So it's probably a little bit of a shocker to have me putting this in your face. But what I'd also say is that same shock goes in the other direction. And again, that's where I've seen the positive seeds work. You know, like I mentioned, like the fact that I skied almost every major ski resort this year, like it's underrated, guys. Like, it was so cool. Being up, way up in the mountains, all over the country, in Utah, Colorado. There's actually amazing mountains in California, in Wyoming, up in Jackson Hole. You know, being with my son, blasting through the glades. It's thrilling, you know, the air is incredible. The sun is shining. It's a bluebird day. Maybe it's a powder day. You're in Utah. You're in Little Cottonwood Canyon. Mountains everywhere. You know, there's little sprinkling snow that comes down as the sun glistens through it, as you're with your loved ones, blasting down the hill, looking at beautiful scenery in this absolute flow state. You know, having some warm, hot chocolate after, sitting around the fire, joking around, sharing stories. Now all of a sudden you're off to Montana, you're up in Glacier Park, up in the mountains. You know, your children are looking at bighorn sheep walking by. You know, in Yellowstone, seeing bison, seeing volcanic geysers. Up in Utah, Arches National Park, giant, beautiful formations that used to be under the water for millions of years. Up in Maine, canoeing with yellow and red leaves, out in the lake, canoeing with your family, with your friends. Renting an Airbnb, buy a fireplace. You know, I don't want to get too kinky here, but you know, a couple girlfriends ago, 7-time Playboy Playmate. You guys probably remember one of my exes. My last girlfriend was Miss Ohio USA. You know, and you might remember her. You know, I've had a lot of luck as far as like my dating life and things like that. You know, what is it like to be with someone that physically attractive, just like being intimate with you, and they're cool and they're funny, and they've got like, they're not just beautiful, but they're hilarious and they're funny and you're friends and you're best friends and having that whatever you want. You know, things like that, or just like the fun of going out to, you know, a bar in Miami South Beach and, you know, just winds in your hair, whatever hairs I have left. I mean, I'll say winds in my beard perhaps, you know, and like, you know, being out there with a big group of your friends, you're all ballers, you're all having fun. You're out on the, you know, the party moves out to the beach. Beautiful people there. You're cracking jokes. You're the coolest people there. You're having fun. Maybe you're messing with somebody on the beach now. You know, you're looking at the waves. Maybe you jump in the water after and you go swimming in it. You know, in my case, I've lived in 3 different mansions in the Hollywood Hills in the last couple of years, right? Big fat parties. We were competing for best party in all of Los Angeles against Hugh Hefner back when he was alive. We had a better party, in my view, than the Playboy Mansion. Well, it's debatable. Paying $500,000, $1 million per party. Things like that. Getting to meet my role models. Getting to do work that I'm passionate about. Getting to be here with you right now doing this event. Doing things like private mentorings with people that I look up to, or people that are actually coming from a lower place and who want to learn, and going out and doing that, walking down the street and having people come up to me and giving me props. And, you know, frankly, like a lot of the best club promoters know me. They get me into clubs easily, or things like that. Many people, you know, in the highest levels of government, giving me the, you know, really interesting things that they're able to share. They can't share everything, but things they are able to share about what goes on in the government. And then I wind up on social media saying these cryptic things. I'm like, you just don't know, you know, right? And I can't say it, right? And you're like, what's he saying? You know, right? But I'm hearing this right from the top. Hearing this right from people that got presidents elected. Me getting to be involved in getting presidents elected, believe it or not, and actually working with the people that did that, or me working with some of the biggest business owners in the world and actually getting to have an influence there, or getting to have a word into their ear. And I'm sure maybe they probably would have figured it out on their own without me. But me getting to kind of, you know, push that little domino and have that little impact based on having connections. And there's thousands of examples like that that I can't mention and won't mention, but it's kind of cool to be at the cause like that. You see what I'm saying? And to be a parent. So I named some rough things here, but I'm kind of doing my own endless motivation process right here. I'm trying to show you how to model it. I'm trying to show you how to go after things that you want. And the greatest joy of all for me is my spiritual relationship, my relationship with my Creator. And having that ability to kind of hear the whispers, not like, Owen, go do this, buddy boy, like a crazy person, but the whisper that comes to you in other ways is to allow that energy into you and to see where that drives your thoughts and to see the beautiful connections that makes. So that's what I'm getting at here as far as motivating yourself and realizing that when you plant good fruit, or when you plant good seeds, you get good fruit. When you plant, and it's not 100%, there's bad luck in life, but usually, you know, we're in a safe enough reality that for 99.9% of us, you plant that good seed, you get back that good fruit. And you plant the bad seed, you get back the bad fruit. So this is what I'm trying to hammer into your head right here, is trying to get you thinking outside of the way that your time and energy and motivation and momentum and clarity and all that is being preyed upon, and get you thinking more clearly here. And when you can do that, you can really, truly, truly change your life. Whether that's making more cash, having better romantic relationships, dating relationships, social relationships, getting to meet more people, having more energy, more vitality, doing more with your life, experiencing more. You don't need to go do all the things that I mentioned. You don't need to compete with Hugh Hefner to have a nice party. You could do that at your regular crib. But it's the ability to do that if you chose, the freedom, the spiritual connection, the happiness, the joy, the expansion that comes with all this. Connecting to your will, your discernment, your flow, and having that move in an upward spiral that allows you to expand. So this is what I'm hammering you with. And what I want you to do is I want you to get together with your team, and I want you to talk about this with each other and start to break this down. And believe me, if you actually will do the work and break this down, you can live a life that is so incredible. It is really, 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 really awesome. But you're not going to get this in the mainstream, and everything's going to blow you back against this. And that's why you're here, and that's why you're learning, and that's why being here right now is the best place that you can be in the world. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. This should be normal. That should be some weird House of Mirrors circus freak smorgasbord. But for whatever reason, Satan, but for whatever reason, we come here and learn at a high paradigm. And what I'm doing right now, most of you don't even realize I'm doing this, but an experienced teacher is able to do things not just communicating at the level of words, but communicating at the level of energy and creating an energetic transmission that allows you to move into a higher paradigm in your mind so these ideas can even be received. Because at a lower paradigm, we can talk about these things and they will not resonate. Whatever level of energy that you're at will determine what paradigms and what level of ideas you can have. So that's also what we're doing here together now, is collectively coming together and raising the vibe. Is everybody here feeling this?
Yeah.
How do you feel in your mind right now?
Peaceful. Present.
Awake. Say the word awake.
Awake.
Give yourselves a hand.